welcome back. This is the MailChat, and I know I haven't released one of these in a while, but we still have 3 questions lined up right here. In the background is going to be for Wynncraft. I think we're doing the tribal aggression quest. And of course, if you're new to the MailChat, you can just leave comments down below in the YouTube comments, or like shoot me up on Twitter or an email. And it's just basically like a question and answer series where you can leave any question, ask me anything at all, and then I'll just answer it on video. So the 3 questions we have today are you going to ever get back on the Block Story server? This is by Shengli via YouTube. The next one is, what's the hardest Minecraft custom map you've ever played? Which is from Arelatron, also from YouTube. The last one, still from YouTube, is what is the worst thing you have ever done in real life? Which is from AJ Tongson or Ninja Realm. I guess we should just get started. So, am I ever going to get back to the Block Story server? So, I've been thinking about Block Story for a while. The original plan for Block Story was to have like this vanilla survival plot similar to the one that Meet the Mobs Again has. And I can't really talk more about where that plot was going because it hasn't really gotten there in Meet the Mobs Again. But I don't think I'll be playing much on Block Story or much on a vanilla world anytime soon. It's just that when I look at all the newly released maps, there are just so many that I haven't played, and that's kind of where I want to take the channel towards. And right now, I don't think I could handle much of a vanilla survival series because I really want to focus on playing the Minecraft maps. And right now, I'm not even playing as much as I would like to, so I would like to dedicate most of my time towards that. So the next question, what's the hardest Minecraft custom map you've ever played? It's from Arelatron, and I think the answer depends on what you define as hard. I guess I have 2 answers for this one. If hard means like the hardest to get through and the most difficult to complete, I would say that would be Diversity. There were a lot of frustrating moments in Diversity where I felt like at a loss or pretty detached from making progress. We actually played the map for longer than what was uploaded on the channels. We ended up finishing in the survival section of the map. We didn't actually complete it yet. Oipkyo still wants to get back to it, and I'd like to get back to it eventually too. But I think an example of Diversity being hard would be like in the maze or labyrinthian section. You couldn't really tell like what if your choices were making an impact toward progressing towards your goal. So it felt like what you did was like really meaningless, and it was like hitting your head against the wall, and it was really hard. And stuff like that was what made Diversity really hard to complete. And I'd say another way to look at hard is like, what is the most challenging game? Like one that made me feel the most proud of overcoming like challenges. And I mean, honestly, I haven't played that many Minecraft maps. Just as I was saying before Block Story, I'd really like to get to play more. And right now, out of my limited pool of played maps, I'd say that Dungeon Arena 2 felt really good. You know, I felt like it had a really good difficulty curve for me. Because I know I died a lot as the Druid. I really enjoyed playing the Druid though. But I never got like super frustrated and felt like I was pretty rewarded for changing up the way I played, or buying a new weapon and trying it out, or like trying a new strategy within, or like experimenting with strategies within the arenas. So in the end, I felt like I was most challenged by Dungeon Arena 2. So I think like the hardest map I've ever played was Diversity, and the most challenging one was Dungeon Arena 2. Okay, so here's the last question, and I suppose this is a pretty long one. Is that, what is the worst thing you've ever done in real life? By AJ Tongson. So I also think this question deserves 2 answers, because one of them is just a story I kind of just want to tell. Because like in terms of like the worst thing I've done legally, in terms of getting in trouble with the police and all that, starts when I was in about 6th grade, when I had a poster board book project due. And I think it was something about the Underground Railroad. But the point is that I didn't read the book. In fact, I didn't even own the book. This was the night before the book project was due. What we had to do was we had to get like a poster board and like put pictures and like print out text and like cut out really nice stuff. Basically a project that would kind of take a little bit of time, because it was a mix between a book report and like an arts and crafts project. So I didn't even own the book on the night before. So I had to ask my mom on the night before if we could go to the bookstore and buy it. Of course, she said no. and I'd have to deal with the consequences for procrastinating. And as a kid, I really didn't take that well, because I remember when I was young, I tried really, really hard to squirm out of any sort of punishment possible, and I would do like pretty bad things. I would like set up other kids to like take the fall for me, and I would just like lie a lot just so I didn't get in trouble. That's kind of how I went on it as a kid. But I was really upset that I would have to like pretty much fail this poster board project. So I ran away. I ran away from home because I couldn't complete my poster board project. So what I did was I literally took a pair of shoes and a box cutter, and I ran straight up the mountain on which we live. And of course it's covered with vegetation, so I couldn't really get very far being like a little kid, and I got stuck in the bushes real quick. So I gave up on climbing, and I ended up following a stream because it was easier. And after some time, I ended up walking into someone's property, which is like this huge backyard. And then they were like yelling at me for trespassing on private property. They yelled at me to go home, and it was scary. So I was scared, and I ran back home. And I mean, that was all fine. And then mom, of course, we talked about it, and Mom forgave me in the end for running away. But it was funny because after that, apparently, legally, I had to be taken away by the police to go through a lot of juvenile, like almost like juvenile detention programs. And I was in there with like a bunch of older kids. I was in 6th grade, and I feel like a lot of the kids there were in high school, or I think some of them even early college. And when all of the kids were in there for like things like assault and like violence and running away from home for like half a year, and then when they asked me what I was in there for, I was just a little kid, and I was like, I ran away from home for 2 hours because I didn't want to fail my book project. But anyway, that's that story, and that's the most trouble I think I've gotten with the law, in terms of, because apparently it's against the law to run away from home. I mean, that would make sense, but I didn't know that as a kid. Okay, but honestly, I feel like a lot of the worst things that people do don't really have legal repercussions. And as for me, I think one that I've realized like really late in life, actually, no, that's not true, because I still have a lot of problems with this every day. But I feel like I really have a bad pride issue. And by that I mean I struggle a lot with knowing my self-worth. Like when I was young in school, I was the weird kid for a really long time. I loved to play a lot of computer and video games, but a lot of people made me feel like a societal drain for playing these games. And I'm pretty sure I was known as like the social outcast to a lot of people in school. And I think one of the most hurtful things that people would say was that I was like being goofy and acting out just to get attention. And I think those were the most hurtful because those were the most true. I always wanted to like get in people's faces, and I used to bother people. I used to be really annoying, but mostly because I just wanted like to kind of be a part of like the social scene, I suppose, which I don't want to do anymore. I'm pretty retracted, but besides the childhood boohoos, I guess that's not really the question here. The point is that it gave me a lot of subconscious confidence complexes, which have like caused me to do a lot of like really, really bad things without even noticing it. And I think one of the most common things is that, or I suppose just an example of one of the common things I do, is that when I argue with people, it's oftentimes I end up arguing for the purpose to be right instead of like actually trying to help them, which is like really not okay. And I think an important thing to keep in mind when debating with someone is like why are you even doing it in the first place? And I think a lot of times I find myself arguing because I do want to be right. I want to like validate myself. I feel this need to like validate my self-worth by conquering this person in verbal combat, which sounds super silly, but I think it's when in reality, I suppose I'm supposed to be arguing because I actually care about them, and I care about like convincing them for like their health or safety or something. I'm not sure, but what am I trying to say? Yeah, it's that you're arguing for because you care about the person. Yeah, that was a really bad fumble, but I suppose that's an example of one of the more subtle more subtle results that I really have to deal with. That I just have this confidence issue that goes throughout my life, I suppose. But I also throw pretty large temper tantrums because I put up tons of defensive walls when I feel like threatened at all, when my ego feels threatened at all. And I've like thrown things and I've hit people, and yeah, it's pretty bad. And I guess this isn't a direct answer to the question, but in summary, I'd say the worst thing I've ever done is like let myself fall into the habit of thinking about myself first. Like thinking about how I can protect my image and like my image to myself and my image to those around me before actually thinking of other people. And that's pretty much what a fat ego is. And I think that's my biggest problem right now. And I know that's not a specific event, but that's like my running chain of bad things that I do that I think about later on and think, wow, I'm a jerk. But that's pretty much that. And that's actually all the questions for this week. So definitely thank you for leaving the questions in the comments. And of course, if you have any questions at all, just feel free to leave them in all the channels I'm social media. And I think the last thing I wanted to talk about was switching up my upload schedule a little bit. And I don't want to get to the point where I say I'm too busy to upload, because I wanna be more on top of that. So here's YouTube upload schedule version 2.0. So what I'm thinking about is that on Saturday I would release a bite of video, like a bite of whatever custom map I'm playing at the time. Then on Sunday I'd release like a let's play of right now it's Meet the Mobs again. Then on Monday I maybe if I'm playing a secondary map I would release a bite of on that day too. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, I'd be taking a break. But on Thursday, I'd make another Let's Play video. And on Friday is the MailChat day. Okay, there. That's YouTube upload schedule 2.0, and that's pretty much all I have for this episode. So thanks for sticking with me again, and I'll see you all next time.